Om Sri Sai Ram, Om Sri Sai Nadhaya Namaha, Om Sri Sai Parabrahmane Namaha. Today in our satsang, we will talk about a very important thing that we all face every day. We all struggle and we need desires. Desires are the important part of our life as a Gruhastha. But when we tread the path of spirituality, or when we tread the path of bhakti or karma yoga, all these things, when we are going through, we need to learn to regulate the desires. Probably controlling the desires, it could be a kind of difficult word, but we can, at least as a human beings, we can regulate our desires. So why are these desires important for us to understand them? We took a life of a human being now, and we had so many past lives. Maybe we were born as animals, trees, organisms, all these different kind of srushti we faced in the past lives. What makes us take these life forms all the time? What makes us born every time? So what makes us born is the desires. These are we call them as vasanas and karma phalas, that because of the desires, we do actions, we do karmas. When we do karmas, we have to either get a positive result or a negative result, right? And when we get those results, we have to enjoy them. Either it's bad or good, we have to face them. Those are the consequences. To face those desires, to face those vasanas, we take a different life. And we do unrighteous things when we do karmas, and we take a bad kind of janmas. Like the Puranas say that we go to Naraka, and then if we do good things, we go to Swarga. Like this, our Puranas talk about it. So these desires are the very important foundation of our janmas. So we can leave everything. We don't have to worry about it. We can just live life like everybody else. But we suffer. Even though good things are happening in our life, we still worry about them. We still worry about a lot of things. So these desires sometimes cripple us. So we have to understand them. So let us go through a little bit deeper today to understand how they influence us, what our sastras will say, and what are the tips that Baba gave us to practice these things. Okay? And is it wrong to have desires? Fulfilling desires is good or bad? On the other hand, suppressing desires, is it the right thing to do? Okay? Why do we need to even think about these issues? Why can't we just enjoy everything that comes in our way like everybody else? But we are in a satsang. We are walking the path of God. We want to follow a guru. So we have so many things that we want to do. If we ask a person, do you have any desires? On the spot, maybe they'll say, I'm okay. I don't need anything. Some people might say that. And then as they're getting older, they're almost ready to die. And then they will say, do you have any desires? Yeah, I want to make sure that I want to see marriage of my grandson or granddaughter. And even us, we want to walk with Baba, and then we say, let my children settle down. Let my children get married. Okay? We all have our own reasons, and these desires keep accumulating. And then they bother. It's not a bad thing to have desires, but what happens is, as a Grihastha, we need certain things in our life. We need to survive. But there are some righteous desires our sastras prescribe to us. We can follow them. We can adopt them. And if they are not good for us, we can avoid them too. So like that. But sometimes what happens is when we desire, sometimes things happen for us. Sometimes the desire fulfill, but sometimes they don't. Why is that? Why is that happening? Everybody prays to God and then asks the God to fulfill their desires. They do all kinds of vratas, pujas, and everything, but not everybody gets their wish. Why is that happening? We all know the answer. Because we need to have what is called the eligibility, right? We need to be eligible to get that kind of result. Where is this coming? How is God giving us those results? Based on our past karmas. When we did good things in the past lives, we get good things now. But sometimes there are some gray areas. Like some people have to really work hard to get what they need, right? We all experience that at one point or the other. Why is that happening? Because sometimes what happens is we're not qualified to get that wish, but at the same time, we did enough in the past lives, and then by focusing, by doing manava pratna more in this life, sometimes we can fulfill those desires. That's when we see Baba, sometimes he granted the wishes for some people. And some people, even though they asked him, he cannot fulfill those things. That was the reason why. If they're not mature enough to be helped from their karmas, Baba also, or God also cannot help us. So that's why it's important. Of course, our Shastras, Vedas, all they prescribed some upasana vidhis. And they also help to a certain extent. When our wishes, when our desires are righteous and they are good for the society, they are good for the other people also, then definitely God will fulfill our wishes through upasana, Shakti. So we need to understand those things. And one of the major problems in our lives is that we just want to fulfill our desires and we don't want any bad consequences from anything. Or if a desire is fulfilled, we don't enjoy that. What happens is we're worried about losing it. So in a similar way, we have to be careful. We need to have a real good insight into these issues so that we can assess whether we deserve a particular object in our life or not. People would like to have anything and everything if possible. And if we can take it with us, everything, we want to take everything with us when we die. But unfortunately, we can't even take this body with us. Even if we desire something, do we put human effort, enough human effort, manava pratna, into it so that we can acquire it? And then we want sometimes certain things in our life, like our kids to succeed in their life. But sometimes are they working hard enough to qualify for that kind of fulfillment of this desire? So we have to assess those things too. When we are unable to perform to the standards that are required, when we do not get what we want, we get disappointed. Our mind takes it the hard way. Here we have to realize one thing. Our scriptures tell us to modulate, regulate, control our desires and take control of our emotions when they're not fulfilled. Okay? But this is a difficult task for most of us. That's why Baba used to say, all my devotees come to me first with worldly desires. And he says it's okay. But I bring them to the correct path by fulfilling some of these desires according to their past karmas, like we were talking before. If they run towards the sensual objects, that means the objects that they don't qualify for or they don't need it, okay, they will fall off the wagon. They will fall off this path and they get disappointed, they get hurt, and then they want to approach another god, or oh, if I did pray to this god, he fulfilled it or she fulfilled it. So like that, this guru, that guru, we tend to change. We must come out of those clutches of this vicious cycle, not fall for these worldly objects which kind of do a circus on us. We must learn to accept what Baba wanted to give us. He wanted us to thrive for gnana rather than running after worldly desires. What is the Baba talking about? He never said that don't have desires. He's saying that you need to have righteous desires based on your qualifications, based on your life. So our desires kind of have various stages and forms of manifestation. Let's understand the signs of the desires now. Okay? They are incredibly wise, like a snake. Okay? They know how to act when the time for action comes. They will really destroy us sometimes. They will provoke us, right? They know how to withdraw themselves when it's time for them to withdraw. When do they withdraw? We'll see now, okay? There are 4 kind of conditions. Remember these things really well, okay? You study yourself in your own way, these stages of these desires. Where are we? Okay? This is, one of them is called prasupta, okay? And then tanu, and then vichinna, udara. These are the 4 kind of things. I'll explain it to you, what they are. These are, who described these things? We have a great person, the Patanjali Yoga Maharshi. Patanjali gave us these things because who else is greater than Patanjali, who gave us all these yoga sadhanas? So he told us about these 4 things. And the prasupta condition is the sleeping condition of a desire. We cannot know that the desires are sleeping except by the complexes that we manifest in our lives. Okay? We're not psychologists to understand these things, but through meditation, through bhakti, we can understand these things. Okay? What happens is sometimes when we do puja, vrata, all those things, we kind of suppress these desires. We don't want them to pop up. So that's what it is, a sleeping condition, okay? Or when we don't have the opportunity to fulfill that desire, we suppress them. So we have to see where that belongs, okay? So at other times what happens is they're intermittent. They come and go, right? Depending on the opportunity. Then we call them as vichinna avastha, okay? Come and go. And then sometimes the desires are like a thin form, okay, like a line, small line, okay, like a drawing line, thinned form. They are called tanu avastha. So today, for example, you're angry, and tomorrow you are in a pleasant mood. You have seen either your husband or wife, they're quarreling, okay? They will not talk to each other. But they do not really hate each other either. Even if they put in on the appearance of disagreement, anger, and like kind of a mood of rejection, as it happens among members in the family, right? We all see that. And our children get angry with us sometimes. It does not mean that they hate one another. This is where our desires take us in the wrong direction. They have tremendous ties of attachment, the family members, which can manifest other times, right? They show their love. The subtlety of love, which gets suppressed by a displeasure kind of fit that we all get angry, at which moment it may look that the desire has gone or the love is absent, Okay? We need to understand that we have to use this whenever we get into these situations. Because the reason why we react in these situations is we have something in our mind, a desire that we want the other person to be in a certain way, right? And then they are not behaving that way. We know inside that we can leave them alone. We can just let them be themselves. We've been living with them for a long time. We know their behavior. Some behaviors they can't change. But still we want to get upset over that. That is the avastha that we have to be careful about, right? And like a thin form, I told you, tanu avastha. And then what happens is whenever these conditions manifest and the desire is fulfilled, it can fully manifest. That is called udara avastha. Okay? These are the avasthas. Then what happens? It's like whenever our desires are fulfilled, it's like a roaring flood and it swallows us. Sometimes the good things also overwhelm us. And then immediately we worry about, am I going to sustain this? Am I going to keep this good thing that happened in my life? That kind of flood that comes into our lives. So we have to be careful about that also. When the desire is fulfilled, we have to be careful also. But I'll tell you how to regulate those things at the end. So let's understand the desires and controlling them, or regulating them. First of all, we need to understand our passion towards the objects or outward things. Why do we develop passion? Why do we develop really a strong, intense affection or intense longing for that object? Is how do we develop that? Either when we were kids, we wanted some toys, or like some other things. When you're growing up, there are different things that you want. And then when you're young, you want different things. And then when you got married and then you have children, you want best things for the children in your life. So how passionate you are about these objects. We all know that things are going to happen the way they're supposed to happen. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't try. We need to keep trying. Okay? The more we think about these objects around us, the more we become interested in them and our passion increases. Who is teaching us these passions? When we look at our neighbors, when we look at the media, social media or TV or anything, it kind of shows that, okay, if you have this, this is a good thing. If you have this, this is a better life. If you have a good job, good money and all that, it's a better life. So the society kind of taught us in a different way, but not everybody's happy even if they get all those things. That's why passion is important. You need to understand how it is disturbing you. It's important to get those objects, get to enjoy those things, and it's important, those things. We cannot live without objects, but we should not have real intense passion or love towards them so that we cannot live without them. That is the most important thing. And then desire leads to action. So this passion, desire, what happens with that? Desire leads to action. And then when the desire leads to action, we start thinking about the object. We'll develop an innate need to acquire that object. Then we imagine the happiness we can derive from that. Like that, we do righteous things. We can get the objects by doing righteous things, by following dharma. But sometimes we have to resort to the shortcuts, or we cut corners to attain those objects, or we scold our family, or we cry, or we get angry. Like by hook or crook, you want to get that object. Okay? Then what happens is there is a stronger impression on your karana sarira. Okay? That leads to one desire can lead to one janma, because all the circumstances have to come together to take a particular janma and fulfill that desire. If you can't have that particular body, particular the environment, you cannot fulfill that desire. So you have to wait for that kind of janma So imagine how many janmas you have to take before you fulfill one desire. So we have to be very careful about it. So these unfulfilled desires lead to anger. And then we want to understand who is in between this object and us, and what factors are preventing you to acquire that object, right? And this leads to anger. Either you see your wife or your parents or your husband between that object and you. Because of them, you are not able to get it. That's why that leads to unfulfilled desire, leads to anger. We have to be careful about that. Then we lose sight. In the same way, in Bhagavad Gita also, we have Bhagavan telling us, right? The desires will lead you to the anger, right? When you get angry, you lose sense of what's happening in your life, and then we make irrecoverable mistakes. We lose relationships. We have to be careful. So, and then the composure is important. When things are not going your way, we need to control. Take a step back, take a deep breath, and then think about it. Am I really supposed to worry about this or not? Okay, we need to control our emotions, otherwise we will invite trouble, and then the consequences will follow. When we suffer, we say, why me, right? Why do bad things happen to me only? Why do I not have any luck? Sometimes we say God grants wishes to everybody, and then I don't get anything like that. So, but here we have to remember one thing. Okay, what is that? Bhagavan, Sri Krishna says that a lot of things about these desires. Okay, how to go around these things. The important thing is that he says that mad bhaktaha, mad paraha, mad asrayaha. Okay, those are very important words. And then whenever we're wishing for a desire, we have to desire in the name of Iswararpana Buddhi. Okay? Iswararpana Buddhi. That is the surrender, Sharanagati. We have to do that. Then we can understand much better. And then whatever the consequence, either it is bad or good, we have to take it as Ishvara Prasada. Because that is the God's gift for us. Even if though it looks like a bad thing at that moment, but it teaches us, it makes us grow towards the spiritual path. So that's why God grants us or not grant those wishes sometimes. It doesn't mean that it's bad, okay? Enjoying the desires through heart, that means, but not through the emotions or the sense organs. In the same thing, I mean, if you all remember, Baba taught us through Hemad Pant, through Chenna Leela, right? Before the mind, the intellect, other senses enjoy these objects, remember me first, that's what Baba says, so that they become an offering to me. The senses can never remain without their objects. These senses that we have, Panchendriyas, Jnanendriyas and all that, they want to run towards the objects. That's what Baba was saying there. But if these objects are offered to the Guru, our Sai, God, the attachment for them will naturally vanish. Then, if you desire anything, Baba says that desire me only. If you are angry, vent your anger on me only. Offer me your pride. Offer your stubbornness to me. Be devoted only to me. Okay, that's what Baba says. He's not only asking your Naivedya, this is also Naivedya, your anger, your pride. That's why in Brahmagnana chapter, Baba asks 5 things from us, right? Indriyas, Manas, Buddhi, Ahankara, all those things he asks. Panchapranas, right? So if we are angry, we have to learn to understand how to modulate that. Whenever we want to fulfill a desire, we should first try to understand our mental state in that circumstance, okay? We got used to using our sensory organs to enjoy any object. If we can learn to feel this through our heart rather than the sense organs, it makes a big difference. I mean, what is that means? thinking about God before you wish anything, whether it is good for me or not, whether it is Sreya for me or Priya for me. Okay? What is Shreyas means? That is best for you. What is Preyas is what you like, right? Shreyam and Priyam. So we have to be careful about that. So then, and then we have to, sometimes we don't pay attention to the relationships. By desiring certain objects, it can disturb other people. We have to be careful about it. It can disturb peace in the society. We have to be careful about that too. That's why the righteousness, following the dharma, is very important. Sometimes we just do things for other people. Other people's needs become our priorities. We forget that we are human too. This is the other side of it. Sometimes we sacrifice so much and then we spoil them in our families. We give them what they don't need. And then because we don't want to hurt their feelings. By doing that, what's happening is we are creating intense desires in them, intense passion for those desires in them. Either it could be our parents, either it could be our children, or ourselves. We are creating a monster out of it. Because of that, we are doing injustice to them. When we do that kind of thing, they have to take so many lives in the future, Janmas, right? So we are indirectly contributing to their fall. We have to be careful. It's okay to help people, but sometimes we have to be careful about this. Even though it's hard, that's why God sometimes doesn't wish all the wishes to us, because it's not good for them, good for us. In the same way, for our loved ones, we cannot continue to yield to whatever they ask all the time, because we're spoiling them. We're destroying their future janmas. When we fulfill a desire, we tend to move vibrations of pleasure towards that object, but not to the heart. Okay? That energy, that passion is going to that object. And then we don't enjoy that. We will deprive us, ourselves, from enjoying what you achieved so far. That's what we need to be very... I was telling you about Udara Avastha. That Udara Avastha, where is like a flood. We have to be careful. Patanjali cautions us with that. When desires are understood with our hearts and soul, then we can move away from these objects easily. Okay? So let's go through some tidbits. What Baba gave us some suggestions. Okay? Very important things. Before the mind, the intellect, and other senses enjoy the objects, remember me first, so that they become an offering to me, and slowly you will change. Okay? The senses can never remain without their objects. We need to understand that. Our senses always want the objects. But if these objects are first offered to the Guru, the attachment, the passion will naturally vanish. Okay? We have to remember that. So what are we doing by that? We are avoiding the future janmas so that we don't have to take another life for fulfill that desire. If there is a slightest desire for the enjoyment of these objects, you think that Baba is close by to you. The question whether the object is good for you to enjoy that or not, then it will arise in you. Then you know whether to get it or not, whether to do it or not. The object that is not fit to be enjoyed, when you know that, will be then easily shunned. I mean, you shut it off, okay? Then you'll be peaceful. When such a habit is developed, that Sharanagati is developed, the thoughts about enjoyment of the sense objects are weakened, okay? The desire for the worship of the Guru increases. Pure knowledge, then Baba wants us from going from the desire stage to the Gnana stage. That's why Baba says, I have loads and loads of Gnana with me, but nobody wants it. Everybody wants desires. Okay? So when pure knowledge then Baba gives us, the bondage of the body, consciousness will break. That means we're walking towards Atma Gnana at that time. And then we are taking care of these desires. Where are these desires? In Chitta. Okay? This Karana Sarira, which is responsible for lot of future janmas, will be abolished Only Guru can do that. That's what we say. What Guru does is, he doesn't abolish them. He gives you Atma Gnana. When you experience that Atma Gnana, then you lose all those future lives, desires will become weakened. It doesn't mean that you become a sannyasi, you don't enjoy those things. You can still enjoy the objects without an attachment to them. That's what karma yoga. Okay, nishkama karma. Okay, in the same way. In the bhakti yoga also, we have to remember that we have to be careful when in the sakama bhakti and nishkama bhakti are there. Okay, Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures teach us we have to be very careful about these things. Sakama bhakti also, we need to do that with the surrender, okay, with the Isvara prasada buddhi, okay, and then whatever he gives you, you have to be satisfied with that. Then what happens is, when you serve the Guru with a pure heart, desire for the objects and senses will be destroyed from the root. The mind will become pure really and sinless. Your self will manifest. That Atma will give you sakshatkara and manifest with effulgence really. So, Sai Bandhus, let us understand our desires, okay? Let us analyze the real need for these desires, how they are responsible for future janmas. Let us stop running for things that we do not need. Let us turn our attention to our Guru. Let us get our Guru's grace and walk in the path that Guru show us. With that, we will conclude our satsang today. And let's remember all these things. Isvara Prasada Buddhi, Isvara Arpana Buddhi. These two are very important for us. And then we adopt those things in our life. Om Sri Sai Ram. Om Sri Sai Nadhaya Namaha. Om Sri Sai Parabrahmane Namaha. Om Sri Sachidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj Ki. Sri Sainath Maharaj Ki. Sainath Maharaj Ki Jai.